I think that the beautiful thing about YouTube is that you can teach yourself to become a true guitar hero in less than a year, only using the free available information in this platform. Now, I think that the problem comes when you don't even know where to start, or you don't know what topics you should be learning in what order. So today, I'm gonna give you that order and the roadmap that I wish I had when I started teaching myself guitar 14 years ago. Now, I'm gonna be dividing the year in 6 different sections, and I'm gonna give you an estimated time of how much I think you should be spending in each one. Now, at the end of section 6, I'm gonna give you some practical advice that is gonna allow you to learn all these topics in less than a year. Alright, so the first thing that I want you to do here in section number 1 is to learn how to hold a guitar. Now, I know this sounds extremely basic, but trust me when I say that a lot of guitar players way down the line, they realize that their wrist hurts or that they're not able to play certain things or play very fast. That's because they never learned how to hold the guitar properly. So don't be that person and learn how to hold the guitar from the very beginning. Now, the other things that I want you to learn in this section is to tune a guitar. I want you to learn the names of the strings, and I want you to learn how to hold the pick. Now, when I say learn, it's a little like not really learn, more like find the way that is more efficient for you. Because everybody kind of teaches it differently, and you'll see around YouTube different people telling you like this is how you hold the pick, and I don't think that that's a real thing. So just kind of do whatever is comfortable to you, but do look around and see some ideas to pick from. All right, so section number 2, it's personally my favorite just because I think that this is where you start to make guitar playing your whole personality. This is where you see people taking their guitar to friends and family reunions and they like start to show up how much they know. This is this section, so you can either have a lot of fun or you can be very annoying. So let's go ahead and go into the topics in here. I think you should start with the major chords. Now, one tip that I can give you is that there are simplified versions of these chords. So don't start right out trying to learn like an F chord. An F chord is like my worst enemy when I first started learning. So look for the simplified versions first, and then kind of graduate as you get stronger in your fingers, graduate into the full shapes. Do learn the full shapes though before going into this next section, which is the minor chords. Now, the thing about minor chords is that they're not as straightforward as the major chords, and there's not a lot of simplified versions for them. And this is where a lot of people quit. So I want to be real with you. It's going to hurt. The tips of your fingers are going to be yelling at you. And there may be a little bit of bruising and a little bit of bleeding. So, but don't let that discourage you. I want you to start slow, be steady, but start slow and listen to your body. Have enough time to relax. Now, I promise that around the two-month mark, you start to grow calluses in your fingers and you don't feel that pain anymore. But you do have to kind of push through it a little bit. But again, just kind of stay steady, but start slow. Then after you're done with the major and the minor chords and you can play them somewhat confidently, I want you to just go ahead and start learning all your favorite songs. Really, just look for first name, song name, artist name on YouTube or on Google, and somebody there is going to be able to teach you that song. Now, the other thing that is worth mentioning is that if you, for whatever reason, are unable to find a YouTube video that teaches you the song, I think you should learn how to read chord charts because that's going to be your second best option. Now, for section number 1 and 2, I think you should be spending about a month and a half. You can even push it to 2, which however you want to feel in your hands. So I think that's what the time frame will be for that. Alright, so section number 3 is when we start to learn a little bit of music theory, but I don't want you to be intimidated by it. It's not as scary as some people make it sound like. And no, it doesn't mess with your creativity either. Some people think that it does, but I think it actually enhances your creativity once you know what you're doing. So the very first thing that I want you to do in this section is to start learning the notes on the fretboard. Now, this one in particular is going to take a little bit of time and a lot of practice. So this one is going to bleed into different sections, but I want you to start with the very top 2 strings, so the E string and the A string, because those are going to be your guide to all the other notes in the fretboard. Now, once you're done with that or start to kind of learn the fretboard, I want you to go, well, you have 2 options. You can start with the pentatonic scale or you can start with the major scale. Whichever you want to do first, it's up to you. The pentatonic scale is going to teach you how to solo, and it's going to be maybe a little more practical because you'll be able to solo over your favorite songs. Now, the major scale is going to really help you map the fretboard out. So personally, I think you should start with the major scale and then go into the pentatonics. The pentatonic overlaps over the major. But it's kind of up to you. It's gonna be either way. Now, I do want you to take 3 approaches to learning these scales each. I want you to look up for, I'm looking at my notes here to make sure I say everything. Oh yeah, so I want you to look for the 5 shapes of the pentatonic, or the 7 shapes of the major scale, depending on which one you start with. And I want you to do the 3-note per string method. And finally, the digit driven method. And this one, I made a video about it right here because it's definitely my favorite, and I think that is the one that it's best to learn scales in a way that doesn't like restrict you to a section of the fretboard. So make sure to check that video out whenever you are in this section. In terms of time frame, I think you should spend a month on each, really. I think you should spend a month on the fretboard, a month on the pentatonic, and a month on the major scale. Now, you can learn them all at the same time, or you can dedicate a month each. It's up to you, whatever you want to do. Now, section number 3 is what a lot of people call the intermediate plateau. And this is because, honestly, a lot of people just kind of stay there, or they spend years trying to get out. I personally was there for about 5 years before I learned how to get out of the plateau. But not you, because you have an order and that I'm giving you right now, and you're not going to stay in section 3. You're going to go into section number 4. And the very first thing I want you to learn here is triads. And oh my gosh, triads is the most beautiful thing that can happen to a guitar player when they get out of the plateau. I don't even want to get started. I just can't wait for you to get to this section because triads are amazing. So once you learn triads, I want you to go into arpeggios, and then finally the cage system. Now, arpeggios and triads are very closely related, but the cage system is what kind of puts everything together. The major scale, the pentatonic, the triads, and the arpeggios, they're all in a whole system that spans the whole fretboard and is extremely visual. And once you learn the cage system, triads, and arpeggios, your solos and improvisations and parts are gonna sound so much more musical. Now, in terms of time frame for part number 4, in part 3, I told you that you can maybe overlap it during the 3-month span, but in here, I think you should really spend a month on triads, a month on arpeggios, and a month on the cage system. Just because it is a lot of information, and I do want you to kind of like be able to dominate triads before going into arpeggios, dominate arpeggios before going into the cage system. And I think that's just going to make the experience easier, and it's going to be very fulfilling at the end when you put everything together. Alright, so before starting number 5, I want you to be very proud of yourself because a lot of people never get here, not even in theory. So give yourself a pat on the back because you're doing a really good job. Alright, part number 5, it's where we get into a little bit deeper music theory. But if you have been following this path, this is not really gonna get you by surprise. So the very first thing that I want you to do in part number 5 is to learn intervals. Now, up to this point, you probably already heard of intervals, but most of the time, intervals are given to you. In this section, at the end of it, you should be able to pick whatever interval you want and make it work for whatever you want to do. So this is a really cool section because it kind of like puts everything together and gives you control of what you want to do. So learn intervals first, and then I want you to go into the major, minor 7 chords and chord extensions. Now, this is going to make your playing, your chord playing, and your progressions so much more smooth and efficient. So this is a really cool section when everything kind of starts to sound jazzy and start to sound fusion. It starts to sound more put together. All right, the last part in here, I want you to learn the modes of the major scale. Now, this one, a lot of people make it sound mysterious and like it's the peak of guitar lessons. And I guess we are in section 6, so it is kind of the peak in here. But I don't want you to be intimidated by it because if you've been following this section, it's not going to take you by surprise either, and you're just going to kill it. Now, one thing about modes is that you can also teach yourself by doing the shapes of the modes, the 3 notes per string, and the digit driven method on all of those. So keep that in mind whenever you get to this part. All right, and part number 6 is melodic minor. And just to kind of put it in perspective, everything that we've done up to part 5 is all technically based on the major scale. Melodic minor is a completely different family of music. So technically you can spend a whole other year doing everything that we did just far to the melodic minor. So take the melodic minor as like a bonus start of a new year kind of thing. But once you're done with this too, bro, you're gonna be better than 98% of the people around you. Now, I told you that after part 6 I was gonna give you some advice. So the first one is gonna be make it easy. Get your guitar out of the case and put it somewhere that you can see it, and make sure to pick up your guitar every day and learn something every day. Next is for you to be patient, because this is a lot of information, and especially at the beginning it's gonna hurt. So just kind of take it slow and just be steady again, but take it slow and listen to your body. The next one is to find an accountability partner, such as a friend, a spouse, or even subscribe to this channel. And every time you go to YouTube, I should appear and it should remind you to practice your guitar, hopefully. So if you like this video, make sure to like it and subscribe and share it with other people so they know how to learn the guitar too. So my name is Mauricio, and I'll see you on the next video.